Hello and welcome to Seagulls Central. My name is Adam MacDonald and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much for coming and clicking on this video and coming to react to what has been a crazy game in the Carabao Cup. Brighton beating Barnsley 6-0 to progress into the next round, making the perfect start to their Carabao Cup campaign in the 2025-2026 season. 2 wins, 2 6-0 wins, 2 batterings. We've seen young players, we've seen new players, we've seen experienced players, we've seen new signings, we've seen goals. So many goals. And it's really, really positive to see. Let's get into it. I mean, what a result for Brighton last night. And I think there's only really one place we can start, and that's obviously going to be Diego Gomez and the impact that he had. 4 goals in 75 minutes, a first half hat-trick, and some absolutely brilliant goals. Before I get into Gomez, actually, let's just kind of talk about the team that Fabian Hurzeler put out and the side that we put out in the kind of second half and the way things panned out. It was a very, very changed side. We saw Carlos Baleba keeping his place as one of the only starters from the Tottenham game that made it into this game. Boscagli and Coppola were at centre-half. We had Veltman at left-back, Kadioglu at right-back, which was interesting. Those two were kind of on the invert of maybe their natural side. Tommy Watson on the left wing. Diego Gomez was sort of playing as a right winger, but he kind of drifted in a lot. Baleba in the midfield with Milner. And then we had Welbeck and Stefanos Tzimas starting up front. We also saw Ayari come on. We saw Charlie Tasker come on, we saw Kostulas come on, we saw Harry Howell come on, we saw a variety of different players come on, and we really did see a bit of everyone in this game, able to rest players like Dunk, able to rest players like Mitoma. So overall, the kind of perfect night in the Carabao Cup. And I think it was really pleasing to see a lineup with so many changes. It felt very strong, let's be honest, it felt very strong. There was lots of new signings alongside the kind of old heads with, I say old heads, experienced players like Boscagli, Milner, Welbeck in the side, Veltman able to carry the team through, supported by players like Stefanos Tzimas and Tommy Watson and Coppola, etc. Jason Steele also providing experience in goal. Let's get straight into it. Diego Gomez, goodness me. Wow. What a performance from him. You've seen it on all of the football apps, probably. He's been given 9, 10 ratings. If it was, I think, you couldn't really write a more perfect match for him. And he's been a player, it's interesting for him, really. Maybe he'd think that he should have had a few more opportunities since we saw him properly come to the side. Well, we formally signed him in January. And I thought, there were a few games early doors where we all thought he looked quality. There was a home game. I want to say maybe it was Villa at home. Around January, February, March time, when it was one of his first kind of proper starts. Maybe he had a big appearance there, he came on for kind of significant minutes then, where he played really well. And ever since then, we've all known what he can do. He looked like a fabulous player, but maybe hasn't had the consistency of minutes, the real opportunity to kind of prove, that he's ready for the Premier League every week, that he's going to take the place of someone like Baleba, that he is the Baleba partner. That has been rotated between Ayari, Hinshelwood, etc. And while Ayari has that place for now, I think, as one of the starting midfielders alongside Baleba, Diego Gomez has absolutely played his way into it. What a performance. And let's make it clear, so many different types of goals, variety of goals. We had obviously the kind of first one, which was a bit more of a kind of bursting into the box, arriving late, tap-in kind of job to come in onto the end of the cross. We had absolute thunderbolt strikes. Was it the third one, where the ball just kind of laid off to him from Tommy Watson, kind of went through Welbeck, and he just smacked it top left. Obviously the 35-yard screamer, which is potentially our goal of the season already. One of the best goals, I've ever seen live as a Brighton fan. Absolutely unbelievable. And, good 1v1 goals as well when he was kind of getting his fourth one. Interesting that he was kind of deployed out wide. We saw him as a right winger, which I think is a bit, not strange, but I think we all kind of thought, what are we doing playing a centre mid at right wing? But he played a brilliant performance, looked absolutely fantastic. And what he was really good at doing was kind of drifting in off that right and coming into midfield. I thought even before he scored his goals, the way he was linking up play and creating balls for other players, I thought was very impressive. There was a chance early on which Stefanos Tzimas should have scored. He kind of dithered with it and kind of tried to take around the keeper. I don't really know what he was doing, but this was early doors, maybe first 10, 15 minutes, and Diego Gomez had found that pass, slotted it through for him. And that happened multiple times where Diego Gomez was knocking balls through for players, and he just looked on it. And then, when you get a couple of goals, you play with confidence. But even from early doors before he'd scored, he was really, really kind of trying to get the ball forward, trying to get into space. So, look, he provides another dimension for Brighton, doesn't he? He provides another option. Has he played his way into the starting 11? Does he get a start against Chelsea automatically because of that? Maybe you'd argue you kind of have to in that circumstance. But an absolutely brilliant performance from him. I also want to talk about many of the other players. Obviously, Watson playing brilliantly. He got a hat-trick of assists in his own right. I thought, whilst there were many players we could talk about positively, I think one of the ones which we got to give the most credit to is someone like Tommy Watson. Player who we've really not seen much of at all. Literally hasn't been given a chance in the Premier League at all. Obviously missed a lot of pre-season, but I thought he was one of the brightest sparks. Lots of us were looking at Kadioglu, lots of us were looking at Coppola and Boscagli. I think those two had a pretty decent game, both of them. Again, impressing. Kadioglu, I think, struggling. I'll get onto him in a little bit. But, Watson, someone who's literally had no minutes, has looked really, really good. In this game, in terms of providing a different option to Mitoma, I think he provides something quite exciting. Someone who can take the ball, run at opposition defenders, take their man on. I think it's a really, really exciting player there. Obviously really young, obviously getting up to speed with his fitness, obviously going to have to get up to speed with the Premier League. But we've seen a player who clearly is very intelligent in the way he plays. And I'm very, very excited to see more of him. I think obviously 3 assists, last night against Barnsley. And it is Barnsley. And, there was an assist, that one to Gomez, where he's probably really trying to go to Welbeck. And you kind of understand that maybe there was an element of luck in it, but I thought in terms of his overall performance, I thought it was a very, very impressive performance. Ayari as well, coming off the bench, scoring a brilliant goal in himself. We got to talk about his goal, an absolute thunderbolt of a strike. What a strike. That won't get spoken about much, but what a strike that was from Yasin Ayari. You think about Costulas coming off the bench. I thought, generally he played pretty well. His high pressing was very effective. Whilst he didn't necessarily do anything amazing and flashy in terms of creating goals, I thought he looked impressive in terms of the way he, was able to win the ball back, getting in amongst it. Tzimas, I thought his work rate was very impressive as well. I think what we're seeing is that real depth. Van Hecke coming on in the second half. We're moving to a back 3, being able to change things up. So I think what it does, it shows that Brighton do have a good amount of depth, and I will caveat that with the fact it is good amount of depth against Barnsley, of course. But 12 goals so far in the Carabao Cup. This clearly is an opportunity for silverware for Brighton. And Fabian Hurzeler's quotes after the game did show that he was, prepared to take it seriously. He's obviously going to take it one game at a time, but it provides an opportunity for Brighton to win silverware. What I will say is that, Van Hecke coming on in the second half, we try and change our system a little bit. Maybe you could argue kind of in terms of defensively and kind of giving the ball away and maybe giving away chances. 6-0 kind of flattered us a little bit, maybe, if you're going to be harsh. I don't think this is really something you can touch on for too long. But, I think Barnsley obviously struck the bar. They had a good opportunity. I think where Steele had to, he almost got caught out. Belabor, I don't think was brilliant. I thought he was okay. I thought first half he looked quite impressive. I think he, obviously, I think ultimately he kind of failed to really make his mark in this game. But I thought he played okay. But I think you will really get to see the best of him. But yeah, you can maybe argue as well, Milner in moments kind of gave the ball away quite cheaply. So that would be kind of one of the only kind of real criticisms you could say. But to be honest, look, I think there's a lot of positives to get into. We saw depth, we saw changes, we saw a first, senior goal for Harry Howell, a player who we have so much hope for. Looking like one of the brightest, the best academy prospects for Brighton. Maybe in recent years, 3, 4, 5 years in terms of players coming out of the academy and scoring a lovely goal in his own right, turning it wonderfully into the corner of the goal, and really, really exciting. So, maybe some of the kind of silences some of the doubters before this game have been silenced a little bit. Some of the criticism that I've seen some of you in the comments kind of accuse me of being maybe a little bit too negative were kind of shifted from my perspective in this game. I don't think, my doubts are still there long term and bigger picture, but in this game it does show that we've got really good depth. And, complaining maybe people about Gomez being out wide or, not seeing enough of Costellas and Tzimas. We're beginning to see them. Tommy Watson's showing he's maybe ready. We maintained a good intensity throughout the game, a good rhythm. Obviously, that comes when you get goals and goals and goals. The kind of momentum builds. And obviously, we're in a nice moment now where players coming into the squad, coming into the side, are having to fight for their place. You've got Boscagli and Coppola really pushing Duncan Van Hecke. You've got people essentially seeing these games as kind of auditions for them. So, Watson, can he get in the side? Tzimas, can he get in the side? Diogo Gomez, can he get in the side? Harry Howard, can he get in the side? There are really interesting options. What I will say is maybe you could argue Ferdi Kadioglu had quite a poor game. Obviously hooked at halftime, brought on for Charlie Tasker. I thought he looked very solid in the second half. But Kadioglu didn't look brilliant. I think maybe it's been overstated slightly how kind of poor he was. I thought he played okay. I thought there were a few moments in the first half where I noticed he kind of made some decent tackles. But he didn't look brilliant in that position. He often got caught up in too high up the pitch, looking a little bit weak in the challenge as well. But I suppose that's one we'll come back to in a few weeks and maybe months' time to speak a little bit more about him. And he obviously is a left-sided player. But yeah, a massive result. We've got the draw later on to find out who Brighton are going to play in the next round. But they are in the next round of the Carabao Cup. A brilliant performance. One of the performances of the round, you could maybe argue so far in terms of teams who've played in this round of the Carabao Cup. Diogo Gomez looking absolutely sensational. The question will be whether he will get a start this weekend against Chelsea. Will it be in place of Baleba? Will it be in place of Ayari? How will that one pan out? Let me know, were you at the game? What did you think? How impressive was that performance from the Seagulls? How impressive was that performance from from Diogo Gomez? And what did you make of those goals? My God. And who do you want in the next round? Let me know. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next video. And as always, up the Albion.